Welcome everyone to this second video in our recycle playlist. As I said in the introduction video, we're going to use some various technology as you do to set this up. I use Homestead predominantly, and then I'm using things like Vite, Laravel, Vue-Apollio, Lighthouse, and other things which we'll go into in a minute. So what I want to do in this video is just go through the installation process and get it up and running so we can at least start working on the back end to get the GraphQL up and running. So let me flick over to my code. So this is the URL we're using, recycle.local. Now if you're using Homestead, you have to set this up in your homestead.yaml file, map the folder to the virtual folder, map the URL, and then in your etc hosts file, regardless of what environment you use, and if you're going to use your own suffix .local or whatever, you need to just make sure you put that in the etc host file so that it knows to look up whatever the IP address you've been given by Homestead, or 127.0.0.1 if you're using Valet, or whatever other your environment asks you for. You could be using MAMP, WAMP, XAMPP, WSL, any of those things. So once you get set up and then you do an install of Laravel, which is straightforward, you should be able to access this on the URL. So I've done that here. I've installed Laravel, I've CD'd into the folder, and now we're ready to install the other packages. So the one we're going to do first is Lighthouse. Lighthouse is the server-side version of the GraphQL part. So let's just install that first of all. Now when I'm doing Composer, I want to be inside the environment, which is here. So, okay, yeah, I found this issue. So you just need to put :* at the end, and it seems to resolve to the right version. Again, beyond my knowledge, it's just an instruction I got. So that installs the server side, and there's a couple of other things we need to do here once this is done. So we can put the initial schema file in, which is basically where we map the various entities to the data models and the various URL requests. It will all become apparent in future videos. Okay, that's cool. So let's just publish that. Again, so we'll come back to that later, or maybe in another video. The only other thing I want to do now is this, the playground. Yeah, so the playground basically gives us, as the name suggests, a place where we can test the endpoint from within the app itself. So we don't have to get the Vue SPA front end up and running to test it. So if you're used to using things like Postman or Insomnia as your kind of front end substitute, it's kind of like that, but it's built into the URL itself. So if we go back to the site, and then if we do GraphQL, there we go, GraphQL playground, and this should load up for us now a place where we can put in our graph queries. Here we go. But there's nothing set up yet, so nothing's going to happen, but basically what that means is the server side part of it is working. So that's cool. That's the server side done. Let's start with the client side now. So with the client side, I'm going to create a Vite app. So that's this one here, depending on which version of npm you're running. Actually, that's a point. Let me just check. 16, yeah, that'll do. Version 8, and this is for if it's version 7 plus. Okay, that's cool. So let's call, I'm going to call this folder client, but everything else is staying the same. So remember, we're now in the root of the Laravel app, not the public root, not the web root, just the root of the Laravel app, and we'll call that client. Okay, so that's done. So we'll cd into client, do what it says, npm install. Okay, npm run dev. We should get a localhost 3000, and we do. And if we, there we go, if we load that, there's our Vue app. Okay, so we're set up with Lighthouse and Vue, but we need the front end, which is Vue-Apollio. So let's do this. You can do this through a plugin, but this didn't work for me, I think, because it's still new to Vue 3. So I'm just going to do it the manual way. So let's just close out of that. So we're inside the client folder now. Okay, and that should just work again. There we go. Yeah, so no problem. So the client side and the server side part of the GraphQL is now in place. Now obviously we have to configure it all up in the code. What are we looking at the minute? We're on 6 minutes. Okay, yeah, let's see if we can do a little bit more here. Now I do have, I'm going to cheat a little bit here just to get it set up. Let me just bring that up in VS Code, because I've already been tinkering with this on another app and it takes a while to work out how to build it all up. So I'm kind of just going to copy and paste a bit of the file. So if we go to source, now this is inside the client folder where we've just installed Vite. So client, source, and then main.js. So you can see it's very minimal, but we need to add in a few more bits. So okay, so those two, and then just to need to set these up. Actually, hang on. Don't want to confuse anyone there. Yeah. Okay. So I don't really know much about what this does. It's just a way of setting it up. But the things to bear it that we're going to be using is this. This is going to be the way we authenticate ourselves as a user. This is the URL we've just set up, recycle.local, and /GraphQL. You have one endpoint in GraphQL, not multiple like in REST APIs. And then this, and then that leaves just to we just need to use that here. So if I click on that, and there we go. Now this will error now because we need to install some packages to make this work. So you can see we have an error. So what we need to do is let me see, is it in here? We're using the option API. So yeah, we need to install the option. You can use the composition API, but we're not going to be using that this time. So let's see if that works. Okay, that looks to have worked. Let's go back. Yeah, okay, so that's worked fine. Cool. So let me just check. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. So that's the back end, the front end. Let me just check the back end. I can't remember if we need to set something up config wise with Lighthouse. Yeah, so there is a config file. I'm just curious as to why I haven't seen it here. Configuration maybe. Okay, so it'll be this one here. So copy, and let's go back to our environment. Okay, so now in the config, there we should have Lighthouse. There we go. So let's have a look at this. GraphQL, that's what we put in the front in the Vite front end. So that's where that's specified. The name is GraphQL. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've had trouble authenticating through these middleware, even with the bearer token. I don't know what I've done wrong. And if there's anybody out there who's got this working in this environment, please put it in the comments, and I'll gladly edit the code. But I have to do it a kind of long-winded way through the resolvers, which we'll go through another time. But as you can see, there's all various things we can set in our .m file. I don't think there's anything I need to change for the time being. I think at least to get ourselves going, that looks fine. Yeah, these are all the working folders we're going to be working with. Okay. That looks fine. That looks fine. Come back to it another time if we need to. Okay, cool. So that's excellent. That's everything set up. So we've got Laravel backend, Vue frontend, Laravel Lighthouse backend GraphQL, Vue-Apollio frontend GraphQL, and the basics of both the backend API and the frontend Vite app are working. Let's call it let's call it a stop to this video for setup, because we are pretty much set up now. There are a few things we do need to install later, like Vue Router, Vuex, and other stuff. But for the purposes of just getting started, I'm happy with what we've got. So we'll end this video here. Next time we'll start on maybe some GraphQL setup and against the models, the Laravel models, and setting up the database stuff, and maybe putting some seed data in there or something. But that's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please like. If you want to continue seeing this series of videos, please click the subscribe button. I am trying to do one every day. I can't guarantee that, but I'm thinking if I just do nice little short ones like this, little snippet every day, and you'll be able to watch it at your leisure. But again, thanks for watching. Hope to see you again soon.